One of the things I like to do when I'm writing a screenplay, and every writer writes different. I mean, there's no one way to write a screenplay. But one of the things I like to do, in certain circumstances when I'm having difficulty with a character, I like to look back at their history prior to the story I'm telling about them.
The more depth that you put into designing the characters and who they are and answering questions, asking questions that you may never see or, won't be written into dialogue, you won't see on the film. It just adds depth to these characters. Just creating these in-depth character sketches prior to actually picking up the pencil and writing, essentially, from a writer's perspective, helps the words just come out. Because if you know who the character is, what's his background, you've asked all the questions, you've answered them in your mind, then when this character gets put into certain situations, you know how he's going to respond.
Some bios are written for you if you've done a historical picture. I did a picture called Rommel that was about the famous, German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. And there was a lot of dialogue by Hitler in the film. And I remember sitting down at a blank page and writing and thinking to myself, there's Hitler's name on the screenplay, and I'm thinking, how do you write dialogue for like one of the most diabolical people in all of history? And it really threw me, and I had difficulty writing his dialogue for many, many weeks until I realized I got to stop thinking of this as Hitler and start thinking of it as an actor. And so I actually turned around and started thinking, who would I cast in this film? And once I had that person cast in my head, which was Kevin Spacey, and he actually would make a really great Hitler, but I could hear him in my head. I could hear Kevin Spacey in my head, not Hitler, but I could hear Kevin Spacey, and before long, the dialogue was very, very fluid, maybe the easiest to write of anybody.
I think you're always just asking, why would he do this? Or why is he doing this? And if you know the answers to that, and it's genuine to your character, then it works. If it's not genuine to the character that you've created, then you're going in the wrong direction. So I think it's crucial you ask, why is he doing this thing? And if you don't have an answer, then you either better find an answer, which will flesh out the character even further, or if it's the wrong answer, then you need to change and figure out what the right direction to go is for the character.
Doing some kind of biography on your character, if you're having problems writing for that character, doing a biography is a really, really good idea.
Whatever's been written on the page, the actors are in turn reading those words and interpreting themselves. So it's important that the director knows exactly who these characters are so that when you get on the set, you know exactly how he's going to respond, what kind of performances you want, what kind of reactions, how this character is going to react to certain things. And that's not always on the page, and it needs to be interpreted by the actors, but the actors don't always. Some actors will do a lot of the work beforehand and getting to know who their characters are, but if they haven't, or if the work that they've done goes in kind of the wrong direction, it's important that the director, who has the overall picture in his mind, that he keeps that consistent with throughout the picture. Otherwise, you'll have a mess of character elements that aren't consistent with one another.
In the case of Big Game, what I did was I wanted to take this main character who, I want him to be a little edgy, a little off. He wasn't, he's slightly different from everybody else, just a little bit more adventurous than everybody else. If you're in a group of people, he's the guy who says, let's go skydiving, instead of, let's go get something to eat. And I was going to do a bio on him when I realized that who I was writing was my brother-in-law. I mean, that was him. So I literally named him Jeremy Hanks at first, and then, which is my brother-in-law. And Chet reminded me that the last film that we'd made together, the main character was named Jeremy. So we changed it to his brother, which was Josh. So Josh Hanks is the guy in the film. But whenever I was writing Josh Hanks, the character in the film, I was thinking in my head, my brother-in-law, Jeremy, who is this guy? What would he say? How would he react? What would he do? And that was the character on the screen.